So if you can see, I'm applying charcoal powder little by little, marking out the lines and also try to blend it from the dark part to the lighter part. So watch carefully as I go. Like I said, I'm using A4 paper, which is not really a good paper quality to use. So, but for the case of this video, the techniques still remain the same. You have to be very patient when working on this kind of drawing like this. It takes a lot of patience, perseverance to achieve such a type of drawing of realism. If you watch closely, you can see how I'm shading from the dark, how I'm blending it from the dark portion to the lighter part. I always begin my shading from the darker part so I can achieve the tone value of my drawing, and also shading a bit harder, using a bit pressure to achieve the finishing texture of realism. After taking my brush and charcoal powder to mark out this dark portion of the upper lip, of the lower part of the upper lips, I then pick out my charcoal pencil, my soft charcoal pencil, to darken up that portion and then blend it with my brush to make it look more darker, or just as dark as the reference describes. While I tend to shade from dark to light on the lower part of the upper lips, from the reference, the upper part of the upper lips is darker than the center. So I always make sure I work from dark to light. And at the same time, I'm trying to hide my outlines. So one of the number one rules to achieve realism, or to make your drawing look lifelike, is to hide all outlines as much as possible. Otherwise, your drawing is going to remain caricature or a cartoon-like. So watch me as I shade the whole process, build layers, and achieve tone values in my drawing. When you shade gradually like this, you always avoid the tendency to make mistakes. So while I'm brushing and blending to the light, from dark to light, I tend to apply a bit pressure so I can have a very nice and soft texture of my drawing. I do not apply pressure immediately. I apply charcoal powder. It's when I have exhausted the charcoal powder on that particular dark part, Then while trying to blend to the lighter part, then I apply a bit pressure so that I don't dent the lighter part with excess charcoal powder. So just wash as I build layers on the other side and blend from dark to light. I sometimes shade with my left hand to achieve my objective on my drawing, because at that part using the right hand would give me the right angle of my brush. So the angle of your brush matters, as I will be shading from dark into light, from the top to the bottom. So using your right hand on that particular area won't help. Otherwise you will want to turn your paper so I can use your right hand to shade if you don't know how to make use of your left. After shading like this, I tend to wipe off excess charcoal on my drawing to make my drawing visible and pronounced, so I don't get to be misled by different shape of objects. You can see how I'm building the layers, always from dark to light. You can see I took a darker part, another darker part, and the lower darker part just as a reference. Then I'll start blending it from each of these dark portions to the lighter parts. These are how you build layers and also achieving your tone values. You do it gradually in achieving also a good texture on your drawing too. Don't just apply the dark portion directly all at once. Take it gradually, one step at a time, in layers and layers and layers and layers. I can go in 5 layers if I choose to, depending on what I want to achieve. So right now this is the second layer we are going on. I think at the end of this video, at the end of this tutorial, we are going to achieve about 4 layers in my drawing. You can go 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as you please this. Now I'm about going for the 3rd layer, using the same steps, the same principle, the same techniques. This is the 3rd layer of my shading to achieve realism or if in a nice skin texture. This is the 3rd time. You have to shade very diligently, softly, and blend very well as well. Sincerely, this is a very wrong angle to achieve this kind of lower lip shading. I'm supposed to make use of my right because I'm shading from the bottom to the top. So making use of my left would be a better choice instead of making use of the right, because the angle of my brush is not in the right angle. So I'm going to wipe off some of the excess charcoal powder because I was actually not using the right angle of my brush. Wipe off the excess charcoal powder, then make use of my left hand to shade that portion very well. If you're not good with your left, you can turn your paper to use your right, or turn yourself so I can use your right to achieve that kind of shading from this particular area. Now let's see the difference of using my right and the left. Now I'm back to using the left. Let's see how it goes. Now this is the right angle to set your brush when trying to blend from dark to right, when the shadow is coming from the bottom to the top. All right, or when the light is coming from the top to the bottom, you tend to use the right angle of your brush, just as I'm using my left hand to achieve that right angle of the brush. All right, so you can see the difference now. Because the shadow is coming from the down to the top, that's why I'm using this angle of brush. If the shadow was coming from the top to the bottom, my right hand will be the best choice. So always study where your shadow is coming from so that you don't get to use the wrong angle of your brush. From the reference, you can see that this side of the lips is dark. So I always tend to identify the darker parts of my drawing so that I can start blending from dark to light, like I used to say. So patience is the key. Always be careful and you will achieve the best. When trying to make use of your pencil, your sharpener pencil directly, do not ever apply too much pressure, so that when you are blending, you should be able to blend very well, very softly. All right. So I still need to pronounce some of my darkest, like this darkest part of the drawing. I still need to make it more pronounced, more darker. You can see on the other part of it, you can see a whitish spot on it. So this is because of the paper, the kind of paper, and also I am supposed to make use of blending stump or Q-tips, which is the cutting board, to maintain that smooth and very sharp dark spot on it. So I'm using my pencil to redarken it, then brush it as well to make it look soft. And here we go. Wash as I shade and blend the whole process together. So honestly, I'm revisiting those dark spots, comparing them with my reference image, making them look even darker, so I can achieve my realism. Then look darker, then brush with your thick hard brush. And while applying this, do not use pressure. Like I said, no pressure, so I can blend them very well. Alright, so because of the low quality of this paper, you can see that my dark pencil is wearing off because the paper doesn't hold the charcoal pencil. Charcoal pencil is not good on A4 papers actually, unless you are making use of a graphite pencil. So if you are using charcoal pencil, you tend to use papers like cardboard, thick papers with rough edges like cardboard, glossy, and Strathmore. There are so many types of quality papers when you use charcoal pencil. But what you should know is the basics, the techniques I apply will also work for you on any paper. So if you can achieve this kind of realism on low quality paper, then achieving them on higher advanced paper will be an easy task for you. I make use of the cotton tissue paper to smoothen my surface when dealing with a background. It helps me to have a very nice, soft and smooth surface. Or even when I'm dealing with the skin, I also sometimes use tissue to achieve a very smooth surface on the skin texture too, if necessary. As a result, that was a first layer. So I'm trying to apply a second layer of charcoal powder to make it look more real, the texture look more nice, more solid. So I'm making use of a bigger brush this time around because the part of that area is big, so that I don't get to have a lot of black spot or blemish on that area. So after the shading of the background, I'm trying to pronounce the edges of my drawing. Alright, so they don't look like they blur away into the background. you look at this drawing very well, you can see that there's a lot of black spots on the upper lips, a lot of black spots unlike the lower lips. This is because of the paper quality, and also the paper is very light. It's full of acidic. This is A4 paper, and it's an old paper, so there was already existing stain on the paper. So that is why when I go further in layers, those things tends to come up. I can erase them or make use of them depending on the kind of object or project I'm working on. If the project has a lot of freckles or blemishes, then I can make use of them as part of the drawing. But in this case, I'll be making use of it because the lips has some lines, some stripes, some wrinkles, lines on the lips, so I'll be making use of it as an advantage to my drawing. That is why I won't wipe it off or I won't clean it off. So for now, we are done with the forming and we are about to get into the detailing of the drawing, like adding those lines I'm talking about, the detail of the drawing, the highlights, the where the light hits the most in the drawing.